What I would like to look at today is this homemade extension piece, which is effectively a Y-shaped lead that someone has added onto the brown and blue cable. Number 6 originally came from this one here, which is labelled number 6 somewhere on there, number 6. And number 5, which is that one, that goes somewhere else. Anyway, moving on. Number 5 does go somewhere else, and I'll find that in a second. Which one are we after now? This one up here. There was a cable, excuse that background, there was a cable that attached into this block, which was this brown and white one here, which is number 14 if I remember. Number 14. So number 14 married up with 14 here. Okay, after a lot of rummaging, I discovered that number 5 is the power supply to the illumination bulbs for the binnacle, for the speedometer. So I have all the parts I need now to kind of organise. So effectively the side light feed and the binnacle light feed both come off these two on the Y lead. These are fed in turn from this brown lead coming down from the switch gear, which is also connected to this brown lead in the main part of the bird nest loom. And so I need to devise effectively an equivalent to this four-way connector. Now I can't get these four-way connectors unless I want to spend stupid amounts of money getting them from the United States. And I've had a good old rummage around and I can't seem to find them. I'm sure they're out there in the UK somewhere. But I need to effectively come up with a solution that does the same thing. So I'm thinking I might experiment. I'm wondering if I can't solder two of these together to create a four-way connector and then fit bullet connectors to this one, this one, this one and this one, and effectively have what is one of those. Obviously this one is permanently crimped on one, but I think I might get away with it. One of the things is that it's not a supercritical junction, so as far as I can tell it powers the side light, it powers the lamps for the binnacle, which obviously is not ideal if they go out, but it doesn't kill your headlight. And it powers the rear tail light. I think it's a possibility. If I can make a good solder joint here and then have a piece of heat shrink that's big enough to cover that and shrink it in the middle so that it doesn't move, I think effectively we can recreate one of these. But what I'm going to do now, I've got a few spares of these, so I think what I'm going to do is experiment. If I can get a good solder joint between these two parts, then we'll proceed with the bullet connectors on the other 4 players in this game and see how we get on. Okay, that may actually have worked. I'll just tin the sides of the connector as well. Right, okay, good. So far, so good. That's looking alright. Now I'm going to tin the outside of the other one. Effectively a reverse of what I've just done. Get some flux on there. The flux helps the solder flow. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, yeah, we're getting some tinning on there too, which is good. Excellent. The solder's gone liquid on the inside, so hopefully hopefully that soldered permanently. It's not the prettiest job, but I think that is not going anywhere. So what we've ended up with is two double connectors joined together, soldered together. I've given it a really firm tug and that is not coming apart. I will put my multimeter on it to make sure there's no resistance that we're not expecting. But if all's well and good, then I will see if I've got some suitable heat shrink to go around it. I didn't check that before I did this, but I'm quite pleased with the experiment. Once the heat shrink's on, you won't see if I can focus that, you won't see that it's soldered. It'll just look like basically a four-way connector. So I will just rummage around and see if I've got some suitable heat shrink. Right. So I found my second largest heat shrink size tubing is a tight sliding fit for this particular connector, which allows it to push in, and effectively I think if I just use the soldering iron in the middle of it, we can get it to shrink down and then be a permanent shroud. And there we have it, shrunken down so that heat shrink tubing is not going anywhere, and now the bullet connectors can just be inserted into the ends, basically making a four-way connector. We have the four-way connector I made, and I have now fitted bullet connectors to 1, 2, 3 and finally 4 areas that we all want to join together on the same circuit. And here we have the four-way connector fitted with the terminals in. You can see the one on the bottom right is the one which has the silicone shroud on it, hence the reason you can see the exposed terminal, but it is in fact insulated. And that hopefully should emulate the four-way connectors that are already fitted to the bike, but obviously using what we had. Okay, me being me, didn't like the fact that it had the silicone on one and not on the others, so I took it off and changed it for heat shrink, and now we definitely have a uniform four-way connector.